In this high-level tutorial, we're going to show you how to set up your calendar in depth so you can ditch all other calendars, and we're going to show you all the tips and tricks that we've learned over the last 2 years to help optimize and give great performance for all of your calendars. So make sure you stay tuned till the end and build along with us. So we want to throw in a little bonus. If you watch this video all the way to the end, we're going to put a secret word on the actual screen, and if you text message that word, we're going to give you the templates that are going to go along with the calendars that we're teaching you to create. We're also using our favorite version of HighLevel for this tutorial called FG Funnel, so make sure to check them out. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is when you come on in, you're going to go over to the left-hand side, and from the left-hand side, you're going to go all the way to Settings, and you're going to notice you're going to have Calendars right in here. You're going to click on Calendars, and there's a couple things for you to note. You notice that in here I have what's called unassigned calendars, and then I have what we call team calendars. Now, this was an older legacy way of designing calendars, and a lot of people just tend to stay away from this area, and we're building directly what we call team calendars. The way to make sure that you're building the calendar right is, one, first and foremost, it integrates with Google and it integrates with Outlook. And when you want to make sure you do is when you go over to the left-hand side, you want to make sure that the first thing you do is, if you're using Google, that you come in here and you integrate to Google. So you're going to go back to Settings, you're going to go into Integrations, and inside Integrations, you're just going to sign in with your Google account. Now, if you're already signed in and you got the calendar that you want to connect, as you can see, this is my Rapid Active Media calendar. This is the one I want to use. And this is going to be the calendar that I'm going to leverage to create the rest of my connections and calendars. If you have another individual in here, they will have to do the same. They would have to come in and first integrate their Google account, and all literally that they have to do is sign into Google. It's going to prompt you to log in using your credentials for your Google account. As for instance, I'm already here. I hit allow, and because I've already done it, it's already connected. Once this is connected, I can now integrate my Google Calendar. So then the second thing I need to do is I'm going to go over to the left-hand side. I'm going to go in and I'm going to set up the bottom left if I want to connect Zoom. So for instance, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to hit connect. It's going to bring me to sign into my Zoom. I sign in and I go ahead and connect and allow. Now, if you have a Zoom connection anywhere in this system in another account, it only allows you to connect Zoom to one account inside of all of the software. So the fact I'm already connected, it won't allow me to do that, but the goal would be that you would hit connect here and it would automatically populate. If you have an Outlook calendar, here is where you would connect it. So you would hit connect, you would sign in into your Microsoft, and then you would bring that calendar over. Go over to the right-hand side and fix a few things here that are critically important. The first thing is the meeting location. This is what's going to populate whenever somebody makes an appointment and you're assigned to the actual appointment. And I'll go over that a little bit later when we create the automations. So for here, what you need to do is, now that you've connected your Zoom back here, you would just connect Zoom. Again, it's going to ask you to connect here. I can't do it because I have existing somewhere else. Once you connect it, it would automatically populate here. Now, if for whatever reason you're already connected in a different software and it's not allowing you to connect, that's no problem. You can come over here and basically put in whatever your Zoom login is. Usually it's US Zoom, and then it's got some crazy number right after it. And that's how you know it's your Zoom ID, right? You would just paste in here and you would have it under custom. If you don't want to use Zoom and you want to use Google, as long as your Google account has been integrated and you want to use Google Meet, all you have to do is hit Google Meet and it will automatically populate. The next most important thing is to come over here and set up your time zone. Now, I'm on the East Coast, and this happens to be one of the biggest mistakes people make. What a lot of people do is they won't set up their actual time zone, which will cause problems a little bit later on as you're working with multiple calendars and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and select Eastern. I'm going to select my hours availability. These hours are your general availability throughout all of your calendars. Now, for instance, if I have multiple calendars, one, let's say, is my coaching calendar, and I only do coaching on Tuesdays, if I block all of this out here, then Tuesday is going to have an issue. So what I tend to do is I leave this usually open, and then I modify my availability both on my Google Calendar and inside the particular calendar I want. What I do like to set here is limits of when I know for a fact I'm not going to be around to take any calls. And the way it works is by either clicking and highlighting the days you want and don't want. Like, so for instance, if I don't want to ever be scheduled on Friday, I just uncheck Friday. And what I do, and I come in here, is I come in here and I just set my hours. I'm obviously not going to work 24 hours. My day usually starts at 8 a.m. So what I do is I come over here, set it to 8 a.m., come over here, and then I know I usually end around 6. And I make sure it's PM. And a lot of mistakes people make is that they don't change the AMs and the PMs. So please be careful when you're doing that. Now, I know that this is going to be my general availability for all days. So I'm going to go ahead and hit apply all. Now, what if I wanted to include a lunch? No problem. Come over here, end the first one at like 12. Let's say my lunch break is at 12. All right, 12 p.m. and then I don't start again until 1. Okay, it gives me the hour break and then it goes on. And if I want to do it for all the days, I'm going to go ahead and apply all and see. Maybe I want to open up a Saturday from 8 a.m. to maybe 12. So I just come in here and now I have it set to 12 p.m. So I have my Zoom connected. I have either my Google Meet connected, whatever I want. Again, I'm going to select based on whatever my choice is of how I'm going to do virtual meetings. And if I have like a standard Zoom meeting that I don't want ever changed, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to get that Zoom. Now you can get that usually from Zoom. Zoom does provide you this inside the settings area. So if you go into settings and you just want to grab whatever your group ID is, you can. Another little cheat code is you can go to your calendar and it'll have the Zoom connection right then and there. You can just grab it and then it's usually this pretty standard ID there. So we're going to go ahead and just leave that blank. I'm actually going to use, in this case, Google Meet. And then I'm going to go from there. I'm going to go ahead and update availability. Now, one of the most important things that, again, a lot of people mess up on is that they don't do this primary calendar area. So if you come in here, you got to go to edit. And when you go to edit, most 9 times out of 10, it's not going to sync to a primary calendar. It's going to be the actual setting that's there. You're going to want to change that. Click on the top button, come in here, select the calendar that is going to be the main, and then leave the rest by itself. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit save. If I have multiple calendars feeding into that calendar, I want to make sure that I come in here. For instance, I want all my birthdays and holidays being checked against conflicts because I don't want those being scheduled on. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And you'll know that you've done both of these steps right because you're going to start seeing that they're going to have the calendars listed on the bottom of that. Now I'm going to give it a second. I'm going to pause the video and give this a second to plop in. And as you can see here, it's got the main calendar that I'm checking up against. And this is probably the most important part. You need to make sure that this is good. You might have a personal calendar. You might have another business calendar. You need to make sure that those other calendars are feeding into your main calendar that you're going to be using. And what I mean by feeding is in settings inside of your Google Calendar, you're going to import other calendars. And there's YouTube videos on how to do that out there, but it's not going to necessarily be covered in this lesson, but that's the way you would want to do it. Everything feeds into one Google Calendar, then the Google Calendar feeds into here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create my first calendar. I'm going to go over to calendars. Since I want to create a calendar just for me, I'm going to come over here and the group calendar is going to be Nuno 2. Description is going to be Nuno's other calendars. And they recently changed this to be groups. And then I'm going to put my initials I usually use. And then I just put a number 2 because this is going to be the secondary calendar. And then that updates. Great. Now that this is done, I now can go ahead and create the calendar. So I'm going to come over here. Remember, we're staying away from these unassigned calendars. And we're going to be working mostly with that. Now remember, all I did was add a group. And I did a group of me just because I want all my calendars under my group. And I'm going to come over here to new calendar. And it says add a user. So the first thing I'm going to do is select myself. I am going to be a high priority, low priority. When you only have one individual, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to get into Teams in about a second. And again, here's where that Google Meet or the Connect Zoom that you had is going to be important because this is the meeting location that's going to pull into the invite. I said that I was going to use Google Meet instead of Zoom, so I'm going to just leave that there. This is going to be Nuno's coaching calendar. And I'm going to put the same description in the name in here. And I usually like to do, for whatever time frame it is, like 30 minutes for a slug. A slug is just what's going to show on the link. And then come over here. Yeah, 30-minute coaching call, just like that. And then I can select whatever event color. Usually I like to do my coachings in a different color just to stand out. So I'm going to do it in a green. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and continue. Now that I hit save and continue, here are some things. The slot duration is basically time that the actual appointment is going to be. The slot interval is like how I want it to show up. If I select 30 minutes, it'll show up at, the appointment slots will show up at 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock, 11:30, and so forth. If I do every 15 minutes, it's going to show up 10:15, 10:45, 11:15, 11:45, and so forth, or 11:30, 11:45, and then it's going to do 30 minutes. I usually try to match the slot duration to the slot interval. It just usually makes more sense, and I just kind of go in there. Because if not, it's going to kind of break up your day, but that's just a personal preference. Everybody's different. Buffer between appointments is the amount of time that you want as a break after you actually have a physical appointment. So if somebody books at 10:30, the next appointment booking would be at 10:40. Again, I usually leave this blank because it just creates sometimes weird kind of schedules. Like sometimes somebody will show up on my calendar at 10:40 because I had a 10-minute buffer at the 30-second mark, or at the 30-minute mark. Appointment slots, this is how many appointment slots you want in there. So for instance, if we had multiple team members and they all had the same availability, and I want more than one person to take an appointment, I can have 4 appointment slots because I have 4 people always open at 10 o'clock. Again, works with multiple team members. When you're working just as a team and yourself, or you're developing your own calendar, I usually leave this as 1. And appointments per day, I'd stay away from this. This is limiting the amount of appointments you have per day. If you have a really set schedule right here at the bottom, that's going to take care of that. I would avoid that at all costs. Now, minimum scheduling notice, I usually do this in hours. I can work in a very short time frame, but most I've seen is 12 hours is a really good time frame. You do anything else before that, it's going to limit your availability on your calendar, and it's going to create more people not being able to make appointments with you. And a date range, events that can be scheduled over the next several days, I would recommend staying as far away as this is possible. I've noticed a lot of people trying to use this, and it creates more errors than it does anything else, and it really does limit your availability. Now that that's all said and done, remember, I only coach on Tuesdays, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of Monday. I'm going to get rid of Wednesday, Tuesday, Friday. I only want Tuesday, and I want to do only from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and that's it. I'm going to go ahead and hit save continue. Now, if I had a form that I want people to fill out prior to them coming to the appointment, I would put it in here. Since I do not, I'm just going to leave it open. If I wanted to collect the payment, I would do it here. I would select the payment amount that they would have to pay in order to actually see me, and then I would put the currency, and then it would be billed the amount for this appointment. Now, a lot of people like to use this. This works incredibly well, but it's there if you want to. It's very simplistic. If I wanted to charge $200 every time somebody booked one of these appointments, it would be, the description would be right here. I would put the amount, and then I would just leave that set. I'm not going to charge in this case, so I'm going to leave that open. This is let the calendar auto confirm my appointment. In most situations, you don't want to sit there and get somebody manually to come and confirm your appointment, so I always leave this checked. And I always like to send an appointment alert emails to assigned team member. This is just letting them know that, hey, you have an appointment coming on, and so forth. We do uncheck allow Google Calendar to send invitation or update email to attendees. The reason is because you're going to be doing that through the automation anyway, and you want to leave this unchecked. And then allow for reschedule and allow for cancellations. I always leave that on just so then it actually just works out that way. Now, one of the most important things to check in, assign contacts to their respective calendar team members each time the appointment is booked. When you're working with multiple team members, even yourself, a lot of the automations that we create are going to be based on the user that's been assigned and was available to take the appointment. So I always like to keep this on because this does come very in handy when you're doing the automations, which we're going to go over next. Skip assigning contact if the contact already is assigned to a user. I leave this off. This is the only time you would turn this on if you're using a sales team and people are very particular about the leads that they're calling. So if this was already assigned to a contact, we would want to do this because we want to make sure that the right person gets in. Again, usually stay away from this one. I don't recommend using it. Even if you have a team member, there's going to be different ways I'm going to teach that are going to be better for us to take advantage of that. Now, if you have a contact phone number, leave this on. If you have a contact email, leave this on. If not, just take away. I'm not going to use my phone. I just want them contact by email, so I get rid of that. It has a rescheduling link and cancellation link. If I'm using Facebook and I want to track appointment conversions, I would put the pixel ID in here and it would automatically do here. If I wanted to create any kind of CSS code, I would go ahead and put all my CSS code in here. At the end of the actual appointment setting, if I want them to go to a special thank you page, to go to a video, kind of, getting them ready for the appointment, whatever it might be, I would go ahead and do, after they submit the form, we would do a redirect to the actual page that you would want to go to, and you would set that up directly in here. Or like most, you just want them to say, hey, thank you so much for making an appointment. We'll see you at the appointment. So thank you for the appointment request. And what's going to happen is this little tiny message is going to show up right after they book the appointment. And I'm going to go ahead and hit complete. And congratulations, you made your first calendar. Now, the second thing I'm going to do is, well, I want to also have another calendar where it's going to be a sales call. So, and that I want to have a lot more availability. So again, same process, right? I have my group of me. So I'm a group of one, and I created the calendar. So now I created my first 30-minute coaching calendar, which is only available on Tuesday. What I'm going to do now is create a secondary calendar, which is going to be my regular sales calendar, where I just jump on sales calls. And I want always that available. Now, I already told you, you have high priority, medium priority, and low priority. Really simple to do. Just when it's you, it doesn't really matter because it's only one individual, right? So then again, I'm going to use Google Meet. If you're going to use, remember, if you're going to use that custom link, you're going to put in that link here. If you're going to use your Zoom, you would connect your Zoom, and you would already be connected, and it would just show up your meeting location randomly. And then in this situation, I'm using Google Meet as mentioned before. So I'm going to come over here. This is going to be a discovery call. Okay. And then I'm just going to come in here, paste the discovery call description, and you can write a better description. That's all, based on what you like. And then this is going to be the discovery call. All right, super easy, except this time I want to make these like orange, because then I want to make sure they stand out. Now, these are going to be an hour-long call. Obviously, yours would be different, or maybe 15 minutes. Actually, let's make it 15 minutes. And remember, I mentioned that I like to make my slot intervals to match. Again, that's a personal preference. Yours can be whatever it is. My appointment slots per day, because it's only me, is only going to be one, because we're not going to have I'm just going to have that availability. And I mentioned before, for sales calls, they can call me 6 hours before, and that should be good. Now, don't really set a buffer, because I don't need one. If you wanted to, remember, when you put a buffer in here, it will mess up some of the availability. So just always keep that in mind. And I don't ever put a date range, and I warned you guys to avoid that. Now, since Tuesday is my coaching call, I'm going to eliminate Tuesdays, and I'm going to have Monday through Friday, and I'm going to have all my availability here. And remember, because I set my lunchtime on the other one, it will avoid that here. But just in case, there's been glitches in systems, right? And we always want to make sure we have a backup. I want to make sure I get a lunch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over here, and I'm just going to re-input my lunch, even though I did it in the other beginning part. I'm going to do it here, and then I'm going to hit apply all, so then it applies across the board. Fantastic. Now that this is done, I'm going to go ahead and hit save action. I'm going to go over here. There is no form that I need to. This one would be like a normal, I'm just going to put this contact us form. It's just going to have, what are we looking to talk about? How can I help you? So forth and so on. And I want them to fill that out, obviously, for a discovery call, so I have a little bit more information so I can help you with my sale. I have everything that I want checked. Again, let it auto confirm, send the appointment alert to the assigned team member, allow to reschedule, allow to creation, and I always check assigned contacts to the respective calendar team members each time the appointment is booked. I don't want to include my phone number in this situation because it's a sales call. You might, and I'm going to go through there. And in this situation, I would have a pixel ID, because I wanted to see who's booking on there, so I later on can create a lookalike audience. But then that goes more into Facebook ads, but it could be put here. I don't have any customization for there, but you might. And if you are good at CSS, you would just customize your calendar there. And I just want a nice little easy thank you message. In this situation, I'd probably redirect them into an actual URL. So let me just show you how that works. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to duplicate this tab. I'm going to go to back over here. I'm just going to go to one of my sites. And in here, I have my, I'm just going to go to my service funnel. And it would be onboarding, let's say. Boom. It's a nice little video that tells them everything about what to expect during the call. So what I would do is I would just put the redirect to onboarding once they complete the actual calendar, and I'm going to go ahead and complete. So in this situation, I have the calendar that has the form. I have a calendar that doesn't have a form. I also have a calendar that has a redirect that is now going to a different web page to, again, kind of get them ready for the appointment. And now I've created a whole calendar set here. What we're going to go into next is, okay, now that I've created the calendar, what do I do with it? Well, the best thing to do with these calendars is embed the calendars inside of a web page or a funnel page. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to take one of my existing funnels that I've created, and let's just make believe it's my service funnel. I'm going to take this page. I'm just going to duplicate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone this funnel step. All right, come over here, hit publishing. Let's just say this is Nuno's calendar. Okay. I'm going to put Cal. What's really nice about this is it's going to be branded, and it's going to have a really easy, URL that people can go to, right? It could be your name, it could be your business name, whatever it is. I'm going to go ahead and click here, and I'm just going to eliminate some of the things that, all right, and I'm going to come over here and notice that it already has a calendar in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the actual calendar. So all I did was click on the orange. And as you can see on the left-hand side, I go over to the left, and you can, mess around with some padding, some left and rights. You can use a group page, and this is what we're going to get into now. And you can use the redirect action, right? So this is what we're going to do. So there's two types of calendars that you can put inside here. One, you can do what's called a group calendar. So as you can see, if I do Nuno Tavares' calendar, I have all my different appointment types here, very much like Calendly. Boom, the coaching calendar we just created. Notice it only has two. And you're like, oh, I don't want these descriptions. That's okay. What you do is you're going to come back into here. And if you go back into your other area here, you're going to come over and you're going to go over to your calendars. Go to settings, go back into your calendars. And inside your calendars, here, you can edit the descriptions and the name of it right here under groups. Now for groups, that's what's going to show up here when you edit those things. And then if you just want them, no, I just really kind of want this to be the discovery call calendar. No problem. Uncheck the group page, come over here, and then select the discovery call calendar that you created. Okay? This is why naming is important, because notice that's what you want to make sure you have, because you have multiple different names. Like, see, we have a lot of discovery calls because we have some of the older calendars there. And you're like, well, I really don't like this. I want to change the name. No problem, because now you're in the individual calendar. You're going to come over here, Nuno's coaching calendar, hit edit, and it's all based on here, whatever you want to name it, to make it super easy for you. Okay? So now that I have, let's go back to the page. I have this calendar. Remember that you can either have the message pop up, or you can have a redirect to a URL. Well, you have the choice of doing that inside the calendar in that third area. Remember that I mentioned this confirmation area right here at the bottom. Or if you wanted to do it directly on the page, see, it gives you the redirect action, which is use action from calendar builder, which is what we set up, or go to URL or go to the next step. If you do that here, this will override what you put in the calendar, and it will follow this step. So for instance, if I say go to the next step, after somebody submits a calendar here, regardless of what I put in the calendar setting here, it will override and go to the next step. So you could do it either way. I prefer doing it in the calendar like that. I keep everything contained in the calendar, and then I just set the URL I want it to go to. All right, really simple to do. Now, if you have like a website or a WordPress site that you got to put the calendar on, what you do is you're going to come over here for calendar code, and make believe I wanted to put this discovery call on a particular web page. I'm going to go over here to calendar code, select the group first and then the calendar discovery call, as you can see. And what I can do is I can come over here and grab the embed code by copying this up here, and I automatically can go ahead and put that code inside of my my website, whatever platform it is, whether it's WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, it doesn't matter. As long as it accepts iframe code, it will automatically just copy and paste it, and it'll show up directly on your calendar. What if you wanted to just do the group calendar? What you can do is you come over here, you don't select the calendar, and notice that it has calendar group, And then what you do is you would select that code instead. But if you want a particular calendar, you would select the particular calendar. You see it has dedicated calendar URL and it goes directly in there versus the group. So if you have this here, this is how you can get different iframes in order for you to put inside of a web page. That was quite a bit, and I hope you learned a lot going through this entire video. So more importantly, let me get you those templates. Text this word below to the number provided, and we're gonna get you the access to the templates for the automations that go along with the calendars, which you're gonna need to send constant reminders to your calendars. Hope this video helps. Stay tuned for the next one where we go into team calendar.